Hi friends, it's Sarah from rufflesandrainboots.com. Today we're making Christmas tree gnome from the Dollar Tree 2 different ways. If you'd like to make it, just boop, stick around. As always, please give this video a like so I know you're here crafting. So this is one of the ways I'm going to share how to make a Christmas tree gnome. We'll be using 4-inch ornaments and Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree. The other is using foam ornaments, a little smaller, and a cone. So as I mentioned, I like this one better. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit fuller, and that is using these Dollar Tree Christmas trees. You'll need 2 for each gnome that you create. The second way you can make them is using a garland from the Dollar Tree. So not every Dollar Tree has this, but you can find it. And then also Dollar Tree garland ties. They don't have to be Dollar Tree. You can get these from Dollar General or Home Depot. So the second gnome that's a little smaller is actually a 6.9-inch cone from the Dollar Tree with felt wrapped around it. I'm going to be using ping pong balls for the nose because that's what was requested, and a Santa hat from the Dollar Tree. Also, some ornaments. So I'm going to be using these from Hobby Lobby, which are 4 inches or so tall. They're hollow and they're like really sparkly, but they kind of match that Santa hat from the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to be using them. All right, so the other ornaments I'm going to be using are foam, and they need a plank or a board for them to stand up. So whatever you have in your craft supplies, don't go finding any of this stuff or wait until clearance time to buy it. So in order to add weight to my items, I'm going to have to pop a hole. Now I'm using a hole really close to the inside edge, not only so I can cover it, but also so I can split the 2 trees when I'm ready. For the weight, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree rocks that I have. This is from their vase filler section. So I'm just popping them right into the boot here. I'm going to glue them in place with a good bit of hot glue because I don't like the rattle. If you can find those planter boots, resin or concrete, those would work great too. You can paint them Christmas colors. So just keep an eye out for those. So here you can see I'm just popping in a bit of hot glue and then moving everything around so that I don't have any more shaking. Once I did that for both boots, I'm going to glue them together so I get a nice little turnout of the toes. So I want this, like I just wanted that look. You don't have to do this part. All right, so I'm going to set that aside and move on to the actual trees. So as I mentioned, you can use the garland ties on the dowels, or you can use garland ties on the cone like I'll show you. But I think that the most full and easiest way to do it, definitely the fastest, is to use 2 of these Dollar Tree Christmas trees. Now, listen, I know they're sad on their own, but we're going to zhuzh them up a little bit, okay? So don't worry, but we're going to just separate everything out. You see those huge 2-inch spaces? We're going to make it better. So we're not going to need the stand, which is 3 little plastic pieces, or that little knob on the bottom. So just unscrew that. And then fluff everything out. And it's looking like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. I don't know if I'm dating myself. Does that still show on TV? Oh, when I was a kid, we would watch that every year. And that poor tree. Well, that's what this reminds me of. So you can use one of these trees and either mount it in the middle or just on one side and kind of use garland ties to fluff it up on the other. But y'all, it's it's very thin, it's very sparse. And even though we're going to pop a hat on this, I really think you should use 2 of these trees. So what we're going to do is just spread all of it to one side for one tree and then repeat with the other one. Again, we won't need this stand and we won't need this little thing on the bottom. So we just unscrew that, pop this all open. I'm going to speed this part up a little bit because no one needs to watch this. But I would like to make a note of the mess. It does get a little messy. So if you're crafting in a craft room with carpet, have your vacuum handy. It's just, this stuff is prolific. All right, so we're just going to turn down that top bit that they have in extended fashion on the Dollar Trees. And so what we're going to end up doing is using those garland ties to join this all together. So I'm just going to use this as a placeholder. We will end up taking off this very bottom one. Don't let this stuff come off. Even if it unravels, that's okay. You just need it to cover as much as you can on the bottom so you can glue it back in place. So I just put a little anchor piece right here so that I could start un like so I could see, you see how all of their spaces are the same in these trees, right? Like this whole big section here. That's the part we're going to cover. We're just going to wrap a garland tie around it. So if you have zip ties on hand, wrap it with a zip tie and then cover it with a garland tie. That'll be a little bit more secure. But honestly, with 3 or 4 of these garland ties, this thing did not move at all. But I just basically spread open each little section here and then covered up and tied it around. Again, I am using the Dollar Tree, or what do you call them, garland ties, but if you can't find them in your stores, you can order them online or just hop on over to a different store this time of year. All right, now I'm going to zhuzh everything back, and you see how much just using the garland ties to add a little bit of color and spacing in there. Look at that, looks so much better. So after you zhuzh it up a bit, you're going to split the bottom and then pop one in each of the holes we created. Now it's not going to be too secure because the hole is going to be bigger than the uh, little center pole, but we will fix that, I promise. Look at this mess yet again. All right, so for the Dollar Tree hat, I chose this one to match the boots, but my favorite Dollar Tree Santa hats are actually the ones with the fur, not this white thin stuff. So I will end up adding a fur trim to this to cover it up because it looks pink and not white. And that just bothers me for some reason. If it doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it, but I'll be adding something to it. All right, so for the hat, I am going to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to make sure I have these in place first. I want to make sure everything is solid on the bottom before I start doing the hat. So I'm adding glue to those channels, and then I'm going to go and grab some of the rocks that we used. Remember the little Dollar Tree vase filler? And I'm going to plug up that hole. I'm doing this for 2 reasons. Number one, if it melts, when you put your storage stuff away, if you have it all friction filled, it's going to just melt it in place, right? Nothing's going to fall apart. So I'm just popping a rock in there and it's sticking out a little bit, but don't worry, we're going to cover it. So first I'm going to rip these off or cut them off. They're the little ornament hangers from the booties. And then I'm going to zhuzh up the bottom where I need it to be. And then let me lay this down for you. Okay, so I'm going to zhuzh up the bottom. Now you can cover that, but I didn't like how I had to pull 2 sticks straight out. So instead, I'm going to use another garland tie. I didn't even use a whole pack on this guy, so you'll have some left over for a different project. Or to actually use them as garland ties, I suppose you could do that as well. But I'm just adding 2 at the bottom here so I can cover up the little poles and the rocks that I just filled and add a little bit more substance to the front. So you can see they're just sticking out. So now I'm going to zhuzh them back up, and now we're going to measure the hat to fit our body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down the very top to get a nice rounded spot. It also makes it a little fuller in the front when you do that. So it's the shape of a Christmas tree, just pressed down on the very top. For the hat, it's a little bit big, so I'm just going to really badly glue it together. And here's the thing, no one's going to tell, all right? No one's going to be able to tell that you just glued this from the outside. So I'm just going to take the outside, smush those 2 together to make it a little smaller all the way around. All right, don't burn yourself because this stuff is pretty thin. So just make sure, use a little bit more glue right here in the center to make sure you get it nice and secure. And now we can pop that on our little Gnome. I put that on the side, so I'm going to be able to hide it. There's 2 seams on all the Dollar Tree hats, so either side will always have a seam. Now, I was asked to make this using a ping pong ball for the nose, so I had to pick those up at the Dollar Tree. And I just glued it straight to the underside, so the fabric side of the hat. And there you go. And it was extremely white, so I decided we can probably do something to the white to sort of cut it down, because if you'll notice, it looks very white against the pinkish tone to our fur Santa hat. So I'm just going to secure the side over here first, and that means I'm just gluing it to itself, right? That's all. Just glue it to itself. Again, this is an easy craft. I think it took me about 15 minutes to make. Super simple. And that's like waiting on all the hot glue to dry. Obviously, I edit that stuff out for you all. So now I'm just gonna position it where I want it, and then I look and see, like, it's cute as it can be, but that nose is just so bright that I take a little bit of blush and I pop that on. Look at that, can't see it at all. So then I'm gonna take my finger and try that. Okay, that's a little bit better. So is this color fast? No, no. If you put it up against something, that blush is going to come off. But it did tone down the white a little bit. And this is this guy. He's pretty cute, I have to say. This guy is a little bit more time consuming to make, but if you have the supplies on hand, it's super easy. So I lost a lot of the footage for this because I didn't charge my camera. That happens. So I'm going to just explain how I did it. So I covered the Dollar Tree cone in a very cheap green felt because all I'm doing is trying to cover up that white, because we're going to take garland ties and glue them about 2/3 of the way on this cone. So again, this is the garland ties. I think I used 2.5 packs, so the leftover from the other and 2 packs of garland ties. I just split them in half by bending in the middle, and then I bent them 90 degrees and glued them down. So I glued them about 2/3 of the way up this cone all the way around. It took some time. Get your finger guards out or use a face mask spatula to hold this stuff in place, but it did take some time to get all this done. But again, I am trying to use up items in my craft room, so I just did that. I used dowels stuck in the bottom of the cone to put into the foam ornament boots. They had no weight, so I had to glue them to a plaque. I used a Dollar Tree mini tree skirt and a pom-pom for the hat, and that was it for that guy. Which one is your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.